information. Entertain your mind. Faith meets fire. Let the truth unwind. He says what you're afraid to say. Say it. Unfiltered every single day. Every day. Not afraid to talk Jesus' name. Jesus. He's unafraid. He's unashamed. Lakey unleashed and unfiltered. Coast to coast. Let the saints all roll. Yeah. Lakey unleashed and unfiltered. From shore to shore. Can I get one more? The show starts now. Let the roof come down. The show starts now. Let the roof come down. Lead of faith meets fire. Faith meets fire. Turn it higher. Climb it higher. Just like the Lord intended it to be. You by the speakers, Jimmy setting y'all free. Hey, 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 yeah. Lakey unleashed and unfiltered. Coast to coast. Let the saints all roll. Lakey unleashed and unfiltered. From shore to shore. Can I get one more? The show starts now. Let the roof come down.
All right, everybody, good morning to you. Thank you, Brother Leroy and the Jimmy Lakey Mass Choir. What a great intro that was. The show starts now. Everybody dancing. I got some rhythm there going on. Nice to have you. Monday, the 26th day of January, year of our Lord, 2026. It's 01-26-26. If you're writing a check this morning, don't forget 01-26-26. Good morning, everybody checking in from various and sundry places. Well, let's just play the game. How cold is it where you're at? I don't even know. It's cold. It's bitter, bitter, bitter cold and nasty here in Colorado. Got some snow. You saw that Denver Broncos game yesterday. If you're out of state, yeah, that blew through. That blew through. It really ended pretty quickly, and the roads kind of got better. But a lot of folks tried to drive in that, and it was not good during that time. But good morning wherever you're at. Stacy checks in from Glen Heights, Texas. Good morning. Nashville has a half inch of ice. City is shut down, and Nashville's one of my favorite places. Morning, Fort Collins is -5 out, I'm reading. The Missouri Ozarks, 5 to 10 degrees negative. So it's just, listen, I'd love to hear how this winter storm affected you over the weekend and affected me, and that I had to drive last night. After all the football games, I was out and about and had to drive back to the house of Lakey. I had to drive back in the snow. But anyway, that was a fun football game. If you watched it, if you're a Broncos fan, it was a very nice football game until the snow started. And I really would have liked to have seen, I mean, I'm not saying the Broncos would have come out on top, but I think it just would have been a much more fun game to watch when the whole second half is really about the weather and the changing of the field conditions. It was kind of a bad game. But you know, that's years ago, the Broncos and other teams decided to keep the game all natural and not put a dome on that stadium. Now, if you're watching from afar, the Denver Broncos are going to be building I'm not a huge Denver Broncos fan, but I'm just giving you, they're building a new stadium and it will have a dome on it. And so that would have been a much better choice yesterday. But what a great game. Seattle and LA last night. That was fun. Seattle came out on top. So here we go. We got your Super Bowl. It's going to be the Seattle's Seahawks and the New England Patriots. What say you? Do you have a preference and a favorite in the game? I think Seattle is already coming out on top in the lines in Vegas, but I'm not a prolific gambler, so maybe I read them wrong. So good to have all of you tuned into the program this glorious day the Lord has made. More chaos in the city of Minneapolis over the weekend. You know, I hear people talking about James Comer said maybe I should leave and then let things cool down. I think it was Megyn Kelly, talk show host and podcaster, said everybody should leave and just say if you're an illegal in this country and you're not in Minnesota, then you're going to be in trouble. Everybody go to Minnesota, and I get it. It's all fun and games, but here's the real problem. The White House has said, the Trump White House said they will announce a determination on the latest shooting. They say they're going to look into it. They'll figure out exactly what happened. They will figure out why this guy was carrying a gun loaded with 2 extra magazines, I believe, to a peaceful protest. Why was that necessary? What was its intent? I do find it interesting when the media starts obsessing over somebody's profession. Now they say he was an ICU nurse. Well, what does it matter if he's again? They're going to make a determination as to whether. But the fact is, if you're going to a peaceful protest, and by the way, they say he had the right to have a weapon. Well, supposedly, if you have your again, I'm not an expert of the law. This is just what I'm reading. He didn't have his ID on him. And doing so, if you're going to have your concealed carry, if you have a permit, you have to have your ID. So there's all sorts of stories out there. The funny thing is, it doesn't matter if the guy's a nurse. If whether he was, whether something good happened, bad happened, it doesn't matter. He's a human being, and they're going to review everything. But even the Fox News headline says, Trump confirms federal review of Minneapolis shooting that killed a nurse. It doesn't matter that the person is a nurse. I believe when you put that person's profession in there, it's are they trying to drive a narrative here? He was just a nurse. He was just the Maryland dad. She was just a woman out protesting with her wife. Just a wonderful mother. They always put these narratives and these caveats and these words that I think are meant to manipulate you. The president says the federal presence in Minnesota is going to continue, and they're going to review everything about this. And it doesn't matter that the guy was a nurse. It doesn't matter that the guy was homeless. It doesn't matter if he's Antifa. It doesn't matter who he was. He says we're going to look into everything and review everything and come out with a determination. I just always find it troublesome when they start running these narratives, and these narratives begin to be spun to use as a weapon. So anyway, everybody stay tuned. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. I'm not sure what their laws are in Minnesota on concealed carry and open carry. I don't know. Now, I don't believe that. I believe the Second Amendment covers all that anyway, and I disagree with some of those laws. But unfortunately, the Supreme Court to this point says that states can have some of their own regulation and variations on the theme. So that's where we're at right now. But my understanding and reading is that in Minnesota, if you do have a concealed carry permit, I'm not sure if it's an open carry state, you have to have an ID. So anyway, we'll find out. The White House said there will be a determination. But here's the key. I want to emphasize this. I want to put the emphasis on this, Delilah, that all of this could stop. ICE has said this since the very beginning. If Minnesota was not acting like a sanctuary state, this could all stop. See, states like Minnesota, states like Colorado, where I live, maybe states where you live, they have a law that it prohibits the local police or the local sheriff from calling ICE or letting ICE know or holding anyone for ICE. Because what happens is oftentimes you'll arrest some person that's illegal. And ICE says, well, we've been looking for them. Could you just don't let them out? Don't let them on bail. We'll come get them down to the jail. We won't have to go storm a door. We won't have to kick a door in. That person needs to be detained, looked at, and maybe deported by ICE. We have a detainer on them. And there are states like Colorado that have made it actually illegal for anybody out there to cooperate with ICE. In other words, if ICE calls the Denver County Jail and says, we understand you have illegal alien, whatever his name is or her name is, could you hold them, put them on detainer? A lot of times these counties will say, no, we're not going to hold them, and they'll release them early or get them out the door before ICE is waiting there. So ICE has said all along that if you will just cooperate, let us go into the jails and get these people, it would make it much easier. We would not have to have these scenes on the streets. So if anything, and again, let the full investigation happen of what happened with this person that was shot on the streets by ICE, and whether or not, but sanctuary cities should start to cooperate. And Timmy Waltz, you have blood on your hands. If you're upset that these people got hurt protesting the actions of ICE, there would no be actions of ICE like you know it if you had not been operating a sanctuary state. By the way, Tim Waltz still in trouble. Did you see the press conference he did? He looked like he was a hostage video. He goes, "What's next, Donald Trump?" I wish I just saw it this morning right before the show started. And I think it was the greasy mayor of Minnesota standing there with him, or Keith Ellison, one of those other clowns were there. And he just, "What's next, Donald Trump? What's next?" So it's funny. It's wild. Anyway, good to have all of you here on the show. There will be an investigation. Appreciate you being here. Before we go to our first guest of the morning, I have a question. I traveled a lot for many years when I was in the music and entertainment industry, in the management world and promotion world. And I traveled some, as you know, I've traveled throughout my adult life, I've been a traveler, whether it's speaking or managing stuff. I'm always in Africa. As you know that I travel a lot. So here we go. When you go to the hotel, have you ever taken anything? Don't lie to me. Don't lie to me. What have you taken from a hotel room? There's a survey out that says, you're able to take those little containers of shampoo and conditioner and lotions and all the stuff, the little bitty toiletries, the small ones, right? But a bunch of hotel workers have found that other things get stolen from hotel rooms all the time. The top 10. 88% of hotel workers say, yeah, towels. People want the towels. And I don't know about you, but, I've seen some very nice hotels and I've never found a towel that I said, I want to do that. Now, there have been a couple. I said, that's a nice towel. I would like to buy a brand new one of that one, but I've never taken a towel. I take that back. One time I didn't steal it. I was in Europe and traveled through, and something happened. I was staying overnight on my way to Africa. I believe it was in Brussels, and something happened, and some things got wet. And I wrapped up like a washcloth, and the rain came, and by the time I left, I packed everything up, and I got to Africa, I realized I had like the washcloth. I didn't mean to. I didn't want it. It was just I was drying things out that got wet in a rainstorm in my bag and things like that. But bathrobes, you're not usually allowed to take them. Even at the resorts or the hotel spas. If you want a bathrobe, you call the front desk and say, I like this bathrobe. They say you can take the one in the room, but you've got to think how many Hugh Hefners have been sitting there bare-assed in that thing around the bed right now. Don't take that one. Get a new one if you want to buy one. All right, so everybody admit, have you ever taken anything from a hotel room? Hotel workers say towels are number one, bathrobes are number two, hangers, I don't know why. That's most of the places have hangers you can't remove, but people take them. The toiletries that are not meant to be taken. Now a lot of them have like big bottles on the wall, and you kind of pump your shampoo stuff to the motion. In case you didn't know what that was, toiletries are not meant to be taken. Is that big bottle of shampoo strapped to the wall? But they're hoping you leave that. But unfortunately, people do take that. 36% of hotel workers say blankets. People take the blankets off. 32% of hotel workers say the top theft they have found is people taking pillows. Some hotels are cool with it. They just charge you, or you could buy a new one that hasn't been drooled on by 500 different people. That's if you're going to want something in the room, like a lot of the lines have their own line of things. Buy the fresh one. Don't do that. Hair dryers. A lot of folks, 27% of workers say, yeah, hair dryers disappear all the time. They say pens, but you can take the pens. I think that's the point. Most hotels have water glasses. Some kitchenettes have plates and silverware. People take those. And here's a strange one. 12% of workers say, man, they get tired of having to replace the remote controls all the time. The remotes get stolen. What use is there for a remote control? Anyway, what have you ever taken from a hotel? I took the Bible, but I believe I'm allowed to. Yeah, the Gideons provide the Bibles, the great organization, by the way. If you want to make a donation to the Gideons Foundation or Gideon organization, they like it. You take the Bible. That's their whole thing. Take the Bible. That's a good thing. Ray says sheets and toilet paper. I'm sorry. If I'm going to get sheets, I want brand new sheets that haven't been. Yeah, no, thank you. I remember producer Chad. I got to get my guest here. Producer Chad and I were talking that in my early days of travel, for some reason I hoarded. I go, there's leftover shampoo. They charged me for this room, and you take the little thing of shampoo, and then after a year, you're like, I have an entire drawer filled with shampoo bottles that I'm not going to use. Producer Chad's like, they filled up the drawer, and then his wife's not going to use it. She has her own shampoo and accoutrement she uses. So we take them. Anyway, let me know what is the number one thing you take from hotel rooms. Love to hear from you. Or maybe you don't take anything. I did know one guy, he was so afraid of the sheets there. He owned a mattress store, and so he brought a very soft cover that protected him from bed bugs and stuff. He slept on top of that, and another one on top of it. He wouldn't touch as little as possible the sheets in the bed in the hotel room. All right, Dennis Neal's on the in the studio. He's in the green room waiting patiently. I'm sure Dennis has stayed in a few hotels in his life, and I don't know if he's taken anything. We're going to put him on the hot spot. Dennis Neal, welcome back in, sir.
Hello, Jimmy Lakey. All right, I'll start with a confession, okay, because I just moved down to South Florida from New York City, where I was for 43 years in Brooklyn. I arrived here only last Monday, so I'm here one full week. And as we went through the 6 or 7 states driving down, staying at hotels along the way for 4 nights, I did indeed take a wooden hanger that this jacket was hanging on in the closet as we left. I did it unknowingly, and then realized afterward that that's their wooden hanger. But I'm sure they're happy to let me have it. So
I'm sure they are
okay about it.
Yeah, all right. Dennis Neal, you might have seen him for years on CNBC, Fox Business. He has the What's Bugging Me podcast, a brand new book. We'll talk about organers. That's coming up. Dennis Neal, somebody just said in the chat room that they on YouTube that they took a coffee maker one time. A friend that took a coffee maker from a hotel. I don't know. People take some strange things. I think the hanger, we forgive you for that. But the coffee maker, that's blatant thievery right there. Blatant thievery.
The coffee maker is over the line. True.
Yeah. All right, Dennis, we're talking about Oregon and your new book, but it's just fascinating to me, the chaos that was happening in the Pacific Northwest a couple of years ago and people blocking off blocks of the cities. And it's been really chaotic in the Pacific Northwest for a while. Now it seems a lot of that chaos has landed in Minnesota, Minneapolis. Talk about these protesters there that are causing chaos, not just years in the Pacific Northwest, but what we're watching in Minnesota. Give me your thoughts, sir.
Well, it really is an orchestrated, well-organized, professional protest, isn't it? And all of these different blue pockets. And I think a lot of these people are either on a payroll or they're led by people who are on a payroll. And I'd like to know more about who's really behind it. I think the George Soros type forces with that kind of money are a big part of it. And only Trump has actually called it out. The media never investigated. I think that the Democrat Party in Minnesota, excuse me, is terribly guilty of throwing their own people, boom, in front of law enforcement as sacrificial lambs, almost hoping tragedy will happen so they have something else to run on. They're looking for their next George Floyd all the time. And maybe if the guy who, and by the way, Minnesota is an open carry state. You have to have a permit to be open carry or closed carry or whatever that other phrase is. But you've got weapons and you're running at law enforcement. I don't think law enforcement is enjoying picking off people and killing them. I think law enforcement sometimes gets scared and they react in a panic, and then bad things happen. Those things wouldn't happen at all if the leaders weren't pushing their people to get in the way and get in their face and interfere. Stay the heck out of the way. Stay away from the scene entirely. And you won't run into danger.
Protesting is one thing, but it's to confront a police officer in the middle of the action is not good. Stand on the sidewalk with the sign. I would, if I see police activity, I'm not going to stand at the sign. Right? You never know what's going to happen. I'm going to move out of the area, but unfortunately, other people don't do that. I want to talk about Mamdani. We can talk about all these mayors and governors throughout, the Fry, the one in Minnesota. Their words paint these people up into a frenzy. When they call them the Gestapo, when they call them Nazis, when they call all these things, that's causing people to think that they're Captain America, strapping on the shield and packing the heat and going out there to wage war. It's vitriolic. It's dangerous what they're doing.
Well, and the knee-jerk reaction is to make the protesters who are doing bad things and committing crimes, to make them heroes. In Oregon, in Portland, a week or two ago, 2 people were shot by a Border Patrol agent. Well, there's protests that night at the ICE site. Never mind, the Border Patrol agent was from a different agency. He isn't part of ICE at all. But only 5 hours after the shooting, before you know all the details, a procession of local officials, the governor, the mayor, Congress people, up there speaking about what a tragedy this is. The police chief is up there and said, well, first of all, the good thing to know is that the 2 people who were shot are okay. They're in federal custody in the hospital. A day later, you find out the 2 people are affiliated with this violent Venezuelan gang. They've been investigated in a previous shooting a couple weeks before. They were under investigation by the Portland Police Department itself. And yet the police chief is up there that day, his thoughts and prayers going out to the victims and their families. And he cried. He started crying for the Latino community in case they were offended by this, lest they be impugned by the fact that these were two illegal alien Venezuelan gang affiliates who were involved in this shooting. And the same with Kilmar Albrego Garcia, right? The Maryland man.
Maryland dad, yeah.
MS-13 glyphs kind of on his knuckles, whose own wife charged him with assault, who's been a bad guy, and yet, the Democrats celebrated him, and they continue to do this. And what are they doing? Jimmy, I realize I'm late to this party, okay, but for the first time the other day, I thought their agenda is really to make this a communist country. This really is a communist plot. That's what they want, a total socialist, not just socialist, but outright communist country. I can't believe, by leaving New York after 43 years, Commie Mamdani there is going to lead that place into a bad situation over the next few years if he gets done what he wants to get done. Luckily, he lacks authority to get done a lot of what he wants to get done. He lacks authority to provide free bus fare. Okay, that's a Metropolitan Transit Authority thing, but that doesn't stop him from talking about it. He's a big talker. It's just that all the things he wants to do are antithetical to what you should be doing to run a strong, healthy, growing city. He wants housing to be more affordable. Well, what you need is a glut in new house building, okay? But it takes 10 to 15 years to get that done here. Ease those restrictions, and do not cap rents to where I'm a developer. If you want me to build more buildings to live in, don't cap my rent and tell me I'm only allowed to charge so much in a return. That's really bad policy, and it's going to lead to fewer houses available, not more.
Yeah. The voice of Dennis Neal, you might have seen him as an anchor on CNBC for many years, Fox Business. A lot of his writings and commentary and columns have been out there for years. Dennis Neal. Dennis, back to New York, and I'll come back, kind of wrap it all up in a bow after that. But back to New York. You lived in New York for 47 years. 43 years. And you just now landed in Florida a couple of weeks ago. And the reason for your flight was simply because you knew where it was headed with Mamdani.
Well, I would love to surf that wave and love to say that played a big role. But in this case, the move really is because of Mom rather than Mamdani. My going to be 88 years old next month. My mom needs more help. My brother lives 2 blocks from her, and he and his wife have done a great job taking care of her. But she's on her own now after an unfortunate and terrible, divorce in her 80s. And so she needs more help. But I'll tell you, Mamdani is a reason that I feel kind of vindicated leaving New York. It's a reason, it's one reason to have less regret for leaving what is a great city that in the past few years has really, gotten into hard times. They brought in way too many illegal immigrants. They put them up in luxury hotels while I'm stepping over, sleeping homeless in storefronts on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
The way to Newsmax on Sunday mornings that are Americans.
A lot of these keyboard warriors that hang out on YouTube pages and blue-haired lesbians driving around trying to yell at the cops and blow whistles, they don't realize I believe they're pawns in a game. Let me back up. If you go back to the Barack Obama days that happened, you had these protests. And for some reason, it was George W. Bush. There's always a protest. Occupy Wall Street. We got to Occupy Wall Street, and they camped out in the parks and all that. And it was the same kind of thing, burning stuff, pooping on cop cars because they didn't like the cops. Occupy Wall Street. Fast forward, then you have, so they're not getting their way, so they do something called the defund the police movement. And it was so strong that even the show Cops had to be pulled out and not be aired by national or syndicates because the cops defund the police. Yeah. And then you have now Abolish ICE. Every time they get people stirred up into a frenzy, all of that has backfired. They end up losing elections for Occupy Wall Street. America gets tired of this nonsense. The defund the police tantrum. Now I didn't really mean to defund the police. And now they're on the same thing, Abolish ICE. When will these people learn that their puppet masters, in my estimation, are using them to sow chaos, and that chaos is not going to play out politically the way they want to?
Yeah, I don't think they're ever going to learn. And they're in a self-contained, insane environment where it's impossible to detect sanity because they're all just blinded and brainwashed. In Portland, Oregon, with defund the police. They were whipsawed in 2020 by COVID and then by the George Floyd riots. The place is overwhelmingly white. It's 2.5% black, but they're protesting every night for 100 nights or something over the George Floyd stuff. Just ridiculous. And the police did not intervene. In defund the police, they went down to 800 cops. That's 1993 levels. It's 1 cop per 1,000 people. The average nationwide is 2.2, I think it is, or 2.0. So it's half the nation's rate of cops that you should have. And so that only 800 cops. And so there's a proposal out, a voter signature. Hey, let's get 400 more cops, go up to 1,200, 2.0 per 1,000 people roughly or something. And where's the money going to come from? Well, we've got this climate change fund that has something like 100 million or 200 million surplus. They're collecting vastly more money than they're able to hand it out to NGOs, who then do what with it? They round trip part of it back to elect the people who just handed it to them. I mean, it's just an absolute mess, and nothing gets fixed, and there's no accountability when things fail. In Portland, when you have a violent 911 call, it can take 20 minutes for a cop to get there. When your car is broken into, you have to go fill out a form on a website. They don't send a cop. They don't have the manpower to do it. And that just further leads to this declining quality of life. I walked around downtown Portland for my next book, Oregoners, how the liberal policies of the state are leading it off the cliff unless they rise up and fix it, the people of the state. And man, it's scary, like it was in New York City in the early 1980s. Homeless people on the street kind of yelling, screaming, wanting attention in some way. People selling 3 fentanyl pills for $1. I mean, it's just Mad Max land there.
Yeah. Your new book, Oregoners, is about Oregon, but it really you overlay that template across America. Talk about Oregoners and why it is that you chose Oregon to kind of focus your attention on.
It's a canary in a coal mine. Portland is 65% of all the media impressions in the state. So the messaging is very uniform and very simple, right? Plus, it represents so many other blue states like New York, where you've got all these red counties with fewer people in them, in rural New York up top. And then you've got urban New York City, Long Island, that's super blue. And they dominate the state, even though Trump won far more counties in New York than Harris did, but lost because of the popular vote in that urban center. Well, Portland's got that in spades. It's exactly like that. And so you have a super majority in the state, roughly, the state legislature, 60%, no Republican votes ever needed for the last 10 years or so. And that means there's no accountability when things fail. Their education spends, I think it's $19,000 per student. It's in the top rank of spending. Their test scores are down where Mississippi's used to be. They're at the very bottom for 4th graders for math and reading, the same for 8th graders. And yet they're spending so much money. Portland has the second highest tax rates in the country after only New York City. But what Portlanders said to me when I was there is, yeah, but in New York, you guys get a lot really for your tax money. I don't think so much, but they said, cops are watching Times Square. When there's something goes wrong, they descend and they are there. And that is very true. And I'm happy that they're there. But in Portland, you don't get anything back for it. And the government is dominated by government worker unions, SEIU, ASFME, and a third one, Oregon Teachers, Oregon Education Association. I've been told, Jimmy, that on the first day in office, when you're a new elected Democrat to the state legislature, the union shows up, SEIU. It says, this is your new chief of staff. And it's a union person, okay? I've been told that the union, SEIU, I think it is, for the Tina Kotek governor administration, went to them some weeks ago and said, hey, here's your budget for the next 2 years. We've drafted it for you. So the union has immense power. It's one of the few states, I think it's only 9 states, that has no limits, no caps on political donations. So while Tina Kotek raised $5 million elsewhere, she raised $6 million from unions for her campaign. So they just own and run the place.
The voice of Dennis Neal, if you're one of the thousands of earballs that listen later in the day on the podcast version of the show. Dennis Neal, you might have heard his voice, seen his beautiful face on CNBC for years, Fox Business, might have read some of his great writings in a lot of the great publications, and he's got a brand new book coming out called Oregoners, and that's coming out in a couple of months. Prepare your hearts for that. Dennis, you also have a podcast people should tune into called What's Bugging Me. How do they, first of all, when's the book out? How do they pre-order, and talk about what's bugging me?
Yeah, this book, because the news is breaking every day on stuff going on there, I'm writing it as fast as I can. It'll be out, I hope, sometime second half of the year. The public industry is the one industry that has not been utterly disintermediated and forced to change by the internet. They can take up to 9 months after you give them a manuscript to get the book out. And they say that, the patches on their elbows, they have to, incentivize the sales force and work the channel. Oh, bull, man, just get it out the door. But you can find me, actually, I was going to say, oh my gosh, this is so sad, Jimmy. I was going to say you can find me on X. That's my main platform, at Dennis Neal. I have been silenced. My account has been permanently, they tell me, silenced. No tweeting. My 70,000 followers have been cut to zero. I'm not allowed to follow. I'm not allowed to comment on anything, because I've broken some rules that I don't understand, and that I don't know what the tweet was that did this. I'd be happy to disavow it. But so far, I've not been able to get my account back. I cannot believe that I wrote The Leadership Genius of Elon Musk, 11 lessons for Elon, how to live your life. And I love Elon. And I celebrate in chapter 6, free speech is everything. Make yourself heard. X is the most important free speech media platform in the world. And now I have been silenced by X.
Wow. You don't know what. Maybe it's that hanger you stole from the hotel room.
Yeah, maybe it is. Someone's punishing me for something, though. It starts out with algorithms, but you wonder whether there's a human being with a grudge involved somehow, as paranoid as that is. And it does overestimate my own importance, because they have no idea who I am, I'm sure.
Yeah. Dennis Neal, brother Elon is watching this show. Help brother Dennis Neal out. He would love to do that. The What's Bugging Me podcast, how do folks find it?
Oh, it's on the Ricochet platform and Apple and everywhere else. I've been on hiatus because of this big move down and working on the book. I gotta go back into that. But man, we've got some fantastic stuff there. Amazing stuff about interviewing terrorists, past terrorists, to survivor victims on the Middle East, interviewing a former Undersecretary of State. So check out the catalog.
Dennis Neal, a pleasure. Glad to see you down in Florida. Maybe I'll be there one day. I don't know. I'll work on it.
Florida's the future, baby. I mean, it's unbelievable here, and it is wild. I didn't realize. I mean, I came here. I started my career down in South Florida. I grew up in South Florida, Jimmy. But this is a wild place with wild animals. I mean, I'm fishing yesterday on a canal, along 441 highway with my brother. He's a big fisherman guy. And we see an otter suddenly come up on the bank across the way, across the canal, and he's got an iguana about 3 feet long, in his grip, that's kind of struggling a little bit, and then goes back underwater. I mean, Florida is just a wild place still.
Yeah. Not as wild as Minneapolis, but wild in a much better way. That's good, though. Dennis Neal, appreciate you. Dennis Neal, don't look for him on Twitter. Evidently, he got shut down. Brother Elon, if you're listening, help the brother out, okay? He didn't mean to take that wooden hanger. He did not mean to. It's accidental, and he'll return it. Don't forget, the question of the day is, what have you ever taken from a hotel room? They did a survey of hotel room workers to say it ain't just the little shampoo bottles people are taking. Towels seem to be a very big hot commodity. People steal the towels. I don't know why you'd steal a used towel, but that's okay. Anyway, good to have all of you here on the program. A bathrobe. If you want the bathrobe at the nice hotel, call and order a brand new one, not the one that somebody's been all, I don't know, Hugh Hefner sitting around and they're sprawled out in their bathrobe. And yeah, you don't want that. Get a new one. That's what I'm saying. But no, people just take it. People take coffee pots, they say. Anyway, hotel workers say, you'd be surprised that, that you have the little shampoos and you have the nice, some places that have new ones on the wall. You have to pump them out. Well, people are taking that off the wall too. That's not good. All right. Good to have all of you here on the show. And let us know what it is that you, might have ever stolen from a hotel room. Do you take at least the little shampoos and conditioners? Michael Letts is here. Michael, good morning to you, sir. How are you?
Good morning, Jimmy. It's always a privilege to be with you. You always entertain me.
InvestUSA.org is your website, InvestUSA.org, trying to keep law enforcement safe on the streets. Let me ask you this question, Michael. You're a traveled man. You ever take anything from a hotel room, sir? Dennis Neal stole a coat hanger. He didn't mean to. He forgot, and he just took off with it.
I'm laughing, Jimmy. In my younger days, I used to take the soaps and the shampoos, little things like that.
Yeah.
Not where you had a bucket full of them. You had to throw them out. I didn't know what to do with them. So actually, I've gone the exact opposite. My concern is not taking anything; it's how much stuff do I leave there every time I look.
I got some things. I don't want to. This is too hard to carry home. I don't want. No, it's not even worth it. Just leave it here. They'll lost and found. That's kind of where I'm at.
With a spouse. You checked the closet, right? No, I thought you did. Oh, well, we're not there anymore, so I guess the maid will check the closet. Whatever's left hanging up in there, we'll go to the Goodwill, I guess.
Yeah. I've done that. I think all of us have done. Producer Chad's done that. You, for years, especially in your younger years, you're collecting all the mini bottles and stuff, and then you're like, I've got a whole bucket full, a whole drawer full of these things, and now I feel guilty throwing them all out. I don't know what to do, but you throw them all out eventually. You do that. All right, Michael, let's InvestUSA.org. Michael, we'll talk about Minnesota, but it seems like the American left, it gets themselves spun up in a frenzy. They do the Occupy Wall Street movements back in the day, and it was disrespectful to cops. Remember their videos of people jumping on the hoods of the cars and pooping and doing their business on cop cars. Occupy Wall Street. We're going to show the man that we're not going to put up with this crap anymore. And then that died down, and Democrats lost, and the PR campaign kind of swayed against it. People said, okay, we're tired of this. You had the whole defund the police movement that happened after the George Floyd riots, and that kind of went 360. People now deny that they were ever calling for defunding the police. And then you have now the Abolish ICE movement. These movements go out there, and they put everybody up into a frenzy, probably with a lot of paid protesters and people that are very weak-minded, that can't think intellectually independent and stand back and say, hold your judgment here. Let's get the facts of the case. And it ends up backfiring for the American left. Every time these movements have backfired, defund the police, and I believe Abolish ICE will. Give me your thoughts. Why is it that there are so many, I guess, weak-minded Americans? A lot of them hang out on YouTube, I think, but they're just, they're weak-minded. They've abolished ICE, defund. They're the same ones that screamed Occupy Wall Street, or at least they do it every few years. Doesn't it get old after a while, Michael?
It definitely gets old, but it's part of their overall scheme and plan. This is not a happenstance. This has been well thought out. Decades ago, you remember the communist philosophy was said that if we can gain control of America, we're going to do it through the educational system. So they hijacked. We had our education, our teachers union. Yeah, I know you're going to get calls about that one, Jimmy. They're mad at me for me just saying that. But let's just be very frank. You have your National Teachers Education Union and others that hijacked the educational system, and they dumbed up our kids, and they taught them things that are totally useless. They taught them not to be thinking for themselves, and now so you have this mentality that's been given to our educational system. What more do you expect? These kids are just demonstrating what they've been taught, and that's what's so sad. And the fact of the matter is, Jimmy, compare it globally, how much we spend on education versus everybody else, and look at what we get in return. It goes to show you just how bad we have gotten our priorities and our ability to think of rationality out of whack. And that's exactly where we're at today. I was just on quite a few shows this morning. I guess the big topic now is they're pressing me to be, in DC. De-escalation. This is getting out of hand. We need to back off. And of course, I'm the exact opposite. We need to go ahead and move with the Insurrection Act, and we're in heavy discussions along those lines at the moment. But here's the point. Here's my pushback that I would say on the air all morning long. Okay, you want me to send them a message? Your tactics work. We have been intimidated. We are going to back down. Oh, but don't stay back down. You're going to crank it back up later. Just de-escalate now. We don't want anybody else hurt. How do you say that, Jimmy? Help me figure that out. How do you send a message that because of your actions, you forced me to back off, but I'm not backing off for long. I'm going to come back and readdress this issue down the road, but you do win at the moment because I've got too many people that are concerned now with the violence that's going on and we should go to de-escalation. I'm sorry, but here's what I told them. You want to start that there, see how fast it spreads on a rapid, like a forest fire across the rest of the country. I am not about to impassion and empower these nothing but rioters and thugs. And quite frankly, we're going to do the opposite. We're going to crank this up in another level. And my daddy used to tell me, somebody, don't you ever start a fight? But if somebody starts one, you make sure you finish it. Same application here. We're going to finish the fight, Jimmy.
Yeah. The voice of Michael Letts, if you're listening later in the day, his website, investusa.org, investusa.org. You know, it's always amazing that these people say, well, President Trump, you should de-escalate. You know, this could have all been de-escalated if that jackwagon mayor and that jackwagon governor had not been operating like a sanctuary state and had done what ICE had said. Hey, when you get these guys in jail because you arrest them, stop releasing them, call us. We got a detainer on them. Let us come into the jail. We would not have to go door to door. So the impetus or the onus of de-escalation, it's Timmy Waltz, the defunct and derelict governor and corrupt governor of Minnesota. It's that jackwagon mayor. That's who's to blame for the escalation here. They have escalated this with their words. They have escalated this by choosing not to cooperate with ICE, and ICE is working perfectly, swimmingly smooth in many other cities and states because they have not chosen the radical policies of Tim Waltz and Mayor Free or Mayor Fry, whatever his name is. So stop lecturing us about de-escalation. You guys are the ones that escalated, and you need to choose to de-escalate by starting to cooperate and obey federal laws.
Well, you're exactly right, Jimmy. Let me carry it a step further. They're not going to like me at all for this. You're going to really go get nasty calls about me in a few minutes. But, let's deal with it one at a time. Mayor Fry, we understand why you're doing what you're doing. Your wife, Susan's got $250 million. We're checking into that, by the way, and somebody's going to be held accountable for that. So just be advised that we're onto your scheme. We know why you want to get us to get out of town. And it's not because you're trying to protect the poor little people. You're protecting your own backside. That's exactly what it is. Governor Walz, same situation. Yours is a little bit more than $250 million, though. We're talking about billions of dollars for your administration. We're coming for you. And I realize that the best way to have a strong defense from your perspective is to get an offense, shift us another way, make America think it's all law enforcement's fault. Make us think that we're bad guys. We're picking on you people, and we should shut down all the investigations. Well, it's not going to work. You're going to be held accountable like everybody else. Any other American citizen would be held accountable. You are no exception, my friends, because of the fact that you think you're in elected office, and justice is coming.
Yeah. Again, the voice of Michael Letts, investusa.org. We often say that, Michael. You and I went viral on a clip a couple of weeks ago, and people are still asking me, where's that list that Michael talked about? Where's that list? And we often come on to say, justice is coming, justice is coming. There's a lot of folks that say, Lakey, you guys, me included, often say justice is coming, and yet we never see the justice come. We talk about the corruption of government. No one's ever prosecuted. You talk about the list of people on the payroll for Venezuela. Where's the list? How do we answer that question? Because it's a very good point by a lot of people. They say,
excellent.
Get the details.
We have the list. The list is not in question anymore, Venezuela. The question is, how do we get it released? Here's what you've got. Let's just be very blunt with the American people. You would think people like you and I, Jimmy, and I think it's the vast majority of Americans say, well, you got the list, you got the people, you go on ahead and send it over to law enforcement this afternoon, give them an extra box of handcuffs, issue solved. But here's what you encounter. People on these lists, and it's not just Venezuela, it's the other things we've talked about, are very influential, have a lot of power, and have a lot of political connections. And people that you think are on your side, we're talking about within the administration, Jimmy, won't come out and say, I'm not on your side, Jimmy. But what they do is they realize they have the friends on the other side as well that would be getting the handcuffs. And so what are they saying? Is, we didn't check this list twice, or maybe some misspellings. We need to take it. Let's slow down just a little bit. Now, what is their intent, Jimmy, in slowing down? I wouldn't even mind slowing down if I knew what their intent was, but I know their intent is this. If we could just push this off a little while longer, there'll be a new administration coming in, and it'll all be forgotten, and people will escape justice. That's why I've taken the position we have to continue to pound this issue every day and put enough pressure on to force us to say, you know what, if it's a misspelling, so be it. Let's just go ahead and get it out there, and we'll sort through it as we move and progress along. That's where we're at, and that's what's frustrating to me. I know it's frustrating to the American people. I've seen the juries, the federal grand juries empowered. I've seen the tribunals that are going through this stuff now. So we issue the indictments. Nobody will publicize them. If nobody will move forward with them, it's going to be a waste. I don't think that's going to happen. I know if we issue the indictments, they will be moved forward. But there's a lot of pushing about saying, hey, you don't need to meet today. It's snowing today. It's cold today. Y'all meet tomorrow. There's a lot of that going on behind the scenes, Jimmy, and that's where we're at.
Yeah. Again, the voice of Michael. That's Michael. You talk about the corruption in Minnesota. I think Tim Waltz and Fry, all these guys are using it as a distraction because I think they're in some legal jeopardy from some of the Somalia fraud. We'll find out. Any word on how long does that take? I know there's some investigation there, but again, Nick Shirley broke the story that mainstream media didn't have the courage or the resources or the ability or desire to go do. And, we're impatient. We're kind of a microwave society. Nick Shirley laid out the evidence, and now we're waiting for somebody to be held accountable. Where are we at in this thing? I know we can't do everything in the microwave. Some things are the slow bake oven, but where are we at?
Well, and here's where we were going to create. I'm glad we're creating controversy today, Jimmy. It's Monday. It's supposed to be time for controversy. But you have the verbiage of the Bureau, the Department of Justice, Pam, and those. We've got investigators there. We're looking. We've got extra teams there. I don't doubt what they say. But we've had extra teams on a lot of things for a lot of months, and I haven't seen the paperwork yet to actually file for the indictments. So my solution is simple. We'll just take it out of your jurisdiction. We're going to make it a military tribunal matter because I do believe it involves national security. Let's take a look at Minnesota, which you just implied. We know the Somali government has a role in this. The government, Somali government, has a role. That's a threat to national security. This should be being reviewed by a military tribunal and action taken immediately. Here's the great thing about a military tribunal. You don't get the luxury of saying, oh, well, I'm looking at it. I'm going to need another week or two. You have a timetable. You either get it done or you're behind, go to the flagpole. So that's what we have to have now to get these things started. Jimmy, I've said this all along. I don't believe you have to do military tribunals for the rest of our lives. But I believe a major issue like this needs to be used with military tribunals to start the process. Once the process is underway, gravity will take care of itself.
Michael, that's always a pleasure. You do yeoman's work out there. We know that the White House has said they'll do a full determination of what happened over the weekend of this shooting. But the bottom line, this guy's going to a, quote, peaceful protest with a gun, and he's got a couple of magazines. And the story is he didn't have his ID on it, which doesn't matter any permits you have. You got to have your ID when you have it. All that said, I'll let the White House do the determination on that. But you have to say, why are you going to a so-called peaceful protest with a gun? What are your intentions on that? And you're going to keep those officers safe because some of these people claim to be peaceful, but all of their actions are not so peaceful. You can see it's a peaceful protest as the cars burning behind them or the ice water bottles are being thrown. These idiots still call it a peaceful protest. You're keeping people safe in those peaceful protest.
Well, you're exactly right, Jimmy. I mean, we've seen the video. We know what transpired. You don't go into a hot zone armed unless you have one or two reasons for being there. You're armed because you're trying to protect yourself. So my question is, if you're trying to protect yourself, you're going into the hot zone for what reason then? You have to have a reason. I mean, what is your reason? You're protecting yourself, but you can protect yourself at home. So if you're going into the hot zone, you're going in for what reason? You're going in there to agitate, to go against law enforcement, or to support them. And if you were supporting them, you certainly didn't exhibit the kind of characteristics that would show that and demonstrate that. And it's all on film. So, it's film. We reviewed the footage. We see the gun. I know the media tried to convince us that it was a cell phone. Sorry, guys. When you do the get down the nitty gritty and you pull up the photos and you analyze them, it ain't even close to being a phone. It's the gun. So you've got that. The other thing we're not even talking about is we have one of our ATF agents. I mean, not ATF, ICE agents, excuse me. They were in the process of making an arrest on a fugitive who had a long criminal record. And we're not talking about pickpockets. We're talking about major offenses, rapes, crimes, etc. along those lines. He got away. Why? Because some of the protesters actually bit off the tip of the finger, maimed him for life now. The officer, the ICE officer, bit his tip of his finger off. So the assailant got away, okay? He's still back out on the streets. I mean, Lord knows what else he's trying to do now. And we've got a maimed officer for life. You're telling me that this is the right thing to do? America doesn't buy it.
Yeah. The voice of Michael, let's investusa.org, investusa.org. I believe this is going to be like their defund the police movement. They overplay their hand. They did it with Occupy Wall Street. The average person says this is just not normal. I think Western Journal had a poll out yesterday. Most people Donald Trump was elected because of actions against the illegals. All of this would not be happening if Tim Walz and these jackwagons in Minnesota would turn him over in the jail like has been requested. And all of this wouldn't have happened if Joe Biden had not let millions of them in during the last 4 years while he was pooping his pants and drooling himself. People are flooding across the border. I mean, all of this is just cleaning up a mess that the children have created. And now you've got more children, intellectually bankrupt, very shallow people out there screaming stupid things. And when all else fails, they scream about Epstein. They call everybody names. They can't ever tell the policy that they're for. How would you solve this problem? They just scream and call names. They show up at this show, do the same thing. So, it'll backfire on them. It always does. Defund the police backfired, and they desperately tried to crawl away from that and abolish ICE is a movement that's just led by radicals. It's another talking point. And people that are out there chanting it and running into these protests like this are idiots, not because they have an opinion, but because you're getting in the middle of a law enforcement activity. That's never, ever, ever a wise idea. Even if you're in somewhere in South Carolina and you see a cop pulling over somebody on the traffic stop, it's just not wise to walk up to them during that traffic stop. Don't do that. Don't do that.
No, let law enforcement do their job. Remember, this is our Constitution. We have safeguards in place. That's what we call the court system. It will work itself out. If for some reason you're right and, hey, that's not the appropriate thing he's supposed to be doing, trust me, it will get worked out. I mean, and it will get worked out peacefully if you'll keep your nose out of it and let the system work the way it's supposed to work.
Yep. It happens. InvestUSA.org. Throw some money that way. It's a great charitable organization taking care of law enforcement officers. InvestUSA.org, InvestUSA.org. And please note that's Michael Letts. He's a great fella. And he no longer takes the shampoo from the hotels. That's good to know. I don't either. I gave that up years ago. I gave that up. Why did you steal from hotel rooms? Come on. I still don't understand. The number one thing people, the operators of the hotels, the housekeeping staff, say they get stolen from the most is a towel. And is it like you, me, I do sometimes think this, and I have to say I've been OCD enough at times. I oftentimes pack my own towel. I'm going to confess that because there's been times I've been, going to shower your thing, and I'm sitting there drying myself off going, how many other body parts of other people has this towel touched? And I'm like, it's not appetizing. I want to miss the breakfast at that point. And so I'm just telling you, so why would I ever steal the towel? I sometimes don't even use the towel. If I use a lot of the towels, a lot of it's the bath mats on the floor because that little one's never enough. But I sometimes have taken my own towel. You're welcome for that. I just confess because you think of how many people have rubbed that towel in certain areas, and I know they washed it in hot water and stuff, but the image of it is just too much for me. And I am OCD enough that I have traveled with my own towels. Not all the time, but I sometimes do. So if you're stealing the towels from the hotel, God bless you. I don't know why you would do that. Just go buy new ones. And if you like the hotel towels, ask them who the manufacturer is or go to the front desk and say, I'm not going to steal from my hotel room. Do you have some new ones? And take the new ones and pay for them. Well, I just don't get it. All right. Glad to have all of you here. How have you stolen from a hotel? It's great to talk to all of you and all of us. Is anybody still take the little shampoos and conditioners? Does anybody still take those? I gave that up years and years and years ago. I don't take them anymore. I'm never going to use them. The last time I might have taken one, I was at I forgot what hotel in Vegas, and I liked the smell, the scent in the room. Vegas infuses scents, and there's soaps and things in the spa. Everything smelled the same. And I took one of the little bottles, not that I was going to use it. I think I did not to waste it, but now that I'm going to use it, I took it so I could remember the smell so that I could look around online to see if I could buy that fragrance. I did that. That's a couple of years ago, but I know I didn't steal it because I, every day hoarding up the shampoo. I have my own shampoo. You don't think this hair looks this good because I just use small little bottles. I do that. All right. Glad to have all of you here on the show. All right. I've got other stories we did not get to today. We just deployed a discombobulator. A discombobulator weapon. Did you hear that? The discombobulator weapon. Now, I thought this was George W. Bush giving an explanation, but this was Donald John Trump. Catch this. If you which president called a weapon a discombobulator? You'd think it was Bush, right? No, it's Donald John Trump. He did this. President Trump said a discombobulator weapon was used in the capture of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro earlier this month. In an interview published by the New York Post on Saturday, Trump said, the discombobulator, I'm not allowed to talk about it, adding that it made enemy equipment not work during the capture. However, a senior U.S. official told CNN that Trump may be conflating several capabilities into one weapon that does not exist. A senior official said the U.S. military used cyber tools to disable early warning and other Venezuelan systems during the operation and utilized existing acoustic systems to disorient personnel on the ground. Also, the military has a non-lethal heat ray weapon called the active denial system, which shoots an invisible beam of electromagnetic waves that can reach a little bit more than a half-mile away, penetrating human skin and creating a heating sensation that causes people to move away from the beam. It is unclear whether that was also used, but the president does say they used in Venezuela a discombobulator weapon. And I just want to tell you, we haven't talked about Venezuela in a while, but I'd like to encourage all of you. Ready for this? Sit down today with Doodle and spell discombobulator. It makes you so glad that you took hooked on phonics. It makes you so happy that you know phonics. It's a fun word to spell. Discombobulator. Spell it out. Just practice. I'm just saying, I was typing it this morning. Go, that's kind of fun. I don't know why. I enjoyed it. Discombobulator. Everybody spell it out. Write it down today, and I think you will find it great therapy. All right, we're getting some more stories tomorrow. Are the Democrats going to shut down the government in a couple of weeks due to their hatred of the Department of Homeland Security? I'd like to say that's not going to play well. It will not play well when you're shutting down the government because you don't like the Department of Homeland Security. Also, GOP senators have introduced a bill for bigger penal penalties for assaulting ICE officers. And what'd you take from your hotel? We got all those. So we'll come back and talk more about some of that tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, Arloa says not so many little shampoo bottles available anymore, but I do take them and donate them to a place that provides showers for homeless once a week. Now, that's a great idea. That's a good idea. Donate them to a homeless shelter. That'd be a fantastic idea. But yeah, a lot of people have gone to the pumps on the wall. And they probably did that because I'm sure they had to get rid of those little bottles every time. And for those people, there's a lot of plastic, a lot of stuff. So I'm sure they had to get rid of some of that. All right. Yeah, that's a good idea, though. I never thought about that, all that stuff. Because when I realized I had a whole collection of, 10 years of travel of little shampoo stuff, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know. I just threw them out. Trash. Because I should have been more like Arloa. Yeah. Laura Carno jumps in on the X feed. She says the hotel shampoo is not good for colored hair. Okay. I don't think guys care. I don't, guys, we go to the store and it says wash your hair, your body, your pits, everything. It's just one. We're good. If it can go on this part of my body, it can go on that part of my body. The ladies, it's a whole collection. And I don't know if you've had this experience, gentlemen, but sometimes the ladies have a rotation. They can't use the same shampoo more than like 2 days in a row, or they don't do it every day. And there's a rotation. And it's just like, if my bourbon bar were stocked as good as some ladies' shampoo bars in their shower, it'd be a lot of bottles. It'd be a lot of bottles. So yeah, you got to rotate. Ladies, I don't understand you. And thus why none of us do. None of us do. We never do. All right. So anyway, ladies, if you could explain your shampoo habits, we'd love to have that on another show. But evidently the hotel shampoo is not good for colored hair. All right. We didn't know. Yeah, but it is good for the homeless because the homeless don't color their hair. Somebody says, I don't shampoo and conditioner every day with the man with hair. Yeah. Laura's hair looks so natural, somebody said. Discombobulator. See, that's what I thought. A lot of you commenting on that as well. I thought George W. Bush said that. When I said, President said we had a discombobulator, I'm like, Bush is back. W is back. We have a discombobulator. And then I find it's Donald John Trump, the discombobulator bomb or weapon, something like that. Let's do the stolen memes. What do you say? We go around the globe. We steal memes from places hither and yon. And I'd love to share that with you. So everybody prepare your hearts for that. Let me also remind you about Sherry Cree, homeswithsherry.com. By the way, go back and watch Friday's show. or listen to Friday's show on the iHeartRadio app or Spotify, Apple Podcast. Listen to my segment with Sherry. We talked about just kind of always decluttering and how we tend to get clutter and just kind of preparation so that when the time comes to move, you can be ready. Downsize, talked about elderly parents, and sometimes we become hoarders. And we talk about make sure your will and your trust are in place. And it's just some real practical advice. Even if you're not in the home market right now. Homeswithsherry.com is her website, homeswithsherry.com. Listen, if you're contemplating a move, I'd like for you to get in touch with Sherry. If you're contemplating selling or buying, you need to talk to Sherry. Get that strategy. There's so much strategy involved. And just because your next door neighbor can stick a sign in your yard or your Aunt Susie can stick a sign in your yard, it doesn't mean that they're going to help you get top dollar for your home. When you talk to Sherry Cree, she wants you to get top dollar for your home. And a lot of that isn't just pricing it right and staging it right, but a lot of that is the timing and the calendar and just the overall plan, the overall timeline that you have right now. You might want to list your home now. Listing it 3 months from now, you may get less for it because it's a buyer's market, seller's market. You need to know all this. Sherry works that into the strategy. Again, it's not just a sign of the yard. It's not just making sure you clean up the clutter. We talked about that on the show on Friday. It's not just a matter of making sure you have fresh paint, the landscape. No, listen, it's a matter of the entire big picture program, and Sherry will walk you through that. You got to go to her website. Check it out, homeswithsherry.com. If you're in that I-25 corridor in Colorado, the 25, Denver Metro, out in the Boulder, Broomfield, if you're in Parker, Aurora, if you're up in the Fort Collins area, listen, if there's an area that she says you're too far out, listen, she will do a free recommendation of someone of equal quality and brilliance as she has. Homeswithsherry.com. Again, even if you're not ready to do it yet, maybe you think you're going to list in the summer, buy in the summer, you got to reach out to her. Homeswithsherry.com. Homeswithsherry.com. Miss Sherry Cree, great friend of the program. Always love to talk to her on Fridays, and we hope that you will reach out to her as well. Homeswithsherry.com. This, my friends, is a globe. And Russia's over here. And there's Iceland and Greenland. And for all that matter, we're now going to steal some things. We're going to steal the memes. You steal things from hotels. We're going to steal memes from the Googles and call it good. Ready? Let's do it. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. How do you think too soon? Ow. I'm going to let that stand alone. How do you think ICE is doing in Minnesota? Wow. That's just pretty good, Delilah. Did you send that in? We're going to hell. That's it. Look, we need to go to church right now. Close it up. Open the church house. We got to go in there and pray. Yeah. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Ooh, that was the opening salvo. In one day, Trump got more fat women out walking than Michelle Obama did in 8 years. Boy, we are hitting them hard today on the memes, and it's a 1-2 punch. All of you YouTube goofballs out there. There we go. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. You have a 40-hour work week. Yeah, I remember my first part-time job. Yeah, I feel that way sometimes. I remember my first part-time job. Oh, I work 40 hours now. Oh, part-time, huh? Yeah. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. Exercise makes you look better naked. So does alcohol. Your choice. I see Roger just posted whenever I said we're going to go to hell, we got to go to church right now. Roger's going to share the Bible he stole from the hotel for us. Producer Chad needs to read it. Yeah, he's going to share the Bible. I stole a Bible. You're going to. The Gideons don't mind just stealing a Bible. They encourage it. It's a good organization, by the way. They're the ones who do the Bibles. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. To everybody who's stocked up on bacon and alcohol instead of toilet paper, milk, and bread, I salute you. Yeah. Ooh, we are batting 1,000 today. We are producer Chad's on a roll. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes, no one knows. Later that day, look at the photo. If you're listening to the podcast, this is why you're missing it. Later that day, Sally taught herself how to ride her own damn bicycle. Sally's like, "Yep, I'm gonna learn to ride." That looks like Delilah on the back of producer Chad's bike sometimes. Give me a ride. Yeah, okay, I'll ride my own. Round around the globe we go. Where we steal the memes from, no one knows. It's so cold, I saw a politician with his hands in his own pockets. I wonder if Tim Waltz put his hands in his own pocket. He's always just the Somalia pockets, the pirates' pockets. Right around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. The saddest picture in the world. I got to blow this up on my screen so I can see it. Oh, it's bacon. What's the rule on that? How long can that stay on the ground? Oh, that is the saddest photo in the world. Ladies and gentlemen, what we have here is a tragedy, an epic tragedy. At least some stayed in the pan. At least some did. Round around the globe we go, where we steal the memes from no one knows. There it is. The meme stealing is over. China has said no more intellectual thievery. We get too good at it. It takes them off the market. They like to be the best at that. So, ladies and gentlemen, lots of things to get to tomorrow. I'm sure we'll be here throughout the week. Don't forget Sherry Cree. And don't forget, oh, by the way, some of you commenting here, if they have a discombobulator weapon, is it possible to create a combobulator and use it on Democrats so they can start thinking clearly for a change? That's a good point. If we can do discombobulation, can we do combobulation? Delilah, would you do that? Run that through AI and see if we can discombobulate. That means, well, if you're discombobulating, you're assuming they're already combobulated. This is going to be deep, Delilah. You just practice the spelling. I think you can get there. Obnoxious Scott on the Rumble says on that bacon question, 5-minute rule. You've heard of the 3-second rule? If it's bacon, I think you pick it up, Scott, and I think what you do is you keep that bacon grease hot and you just let it another 10 seconds in the bacon grease and pull it out. And that sanitizes the bacon, and it gets a little bit more grease on it for you. There, I've solved a problem, and that's what I'm here for, my friends. I'm here to solve a problem. If you'd like to help us solve a problem, hire Delilah. That would solve. No, just kidding. If you'd like to help us solve a problem, donate to our charity organization, Rivers Promise. You see it on my hat, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.com. Food is always a big problem. It continues to be a big problem. It's a great thing to have it, but it costs us a lot of money to feed the kids we have. So, go to riverspromise.org. We'd love a donation from you today. One time, set up a recurring donation, and even $5-10. Any amount helps. If you can do more, we'd love to have your help. We sent some money over, and I got to send some more this month, a little short on what we needed to send over. So I'll send some more over hopefully this week and buy some more food. But we always use your help, and we appreciate it. Riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org, riverspromise.org. Make a donation, and we appreciate it when you do. Until we meet again next week, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. May God bless you. No, we got to go. It's time to go, Delilah. Don't cry. I know you're sad. It's time to wrap up the show. I mean this from the bottom of my heart. Thank you, producer Chad, for all of your hard work and screening out the crazies that are up there wanting to get on the screen. We appreciate that. Until we meet again tomorrow morning, spread the word, spread the love. Go listen to us on the Apple Podcasts, the Spotify, the Podbean, all of iHeartMedia, or whatever that app is. Go get us there. You can listen to the audio portion only. Until we meet again tomorrow, I mean this from the bottom of my heart. On 1/26/26, that's the date. God bless you. God bless America. I am Jimmy Lakey. Peace. I'm out of here.